all in the box. Evolution's a lie? Then how do you explain my wife?
Oh my god. Ugh. Can't believe you let me drive.
I know.
We hit that orphanage full of orphans.
God, you drive bad.
Right? Especially when I'm drunk.
Like an Asian woman. Oh my god! Who are you?
Oh, me? I own this house. I'm just the third guy in the bit. I hired you to fix my Laserdisc player 10 years ago.
Whatever. Anyway. Hey, Liam. Have you ever been to college?
What?
Well, do I have the movie for you?
So now that you're retiring, what are you going to do?
I'm free full-time to work on what God wants me to do. I feel led to go back to college.
So, Liam, what did you think about Gramps Goes Boom Boom?
Did you know there's fluoride in the drinking water?
What?
Gramps Goes to College starts with the best opening scene I've ever seen. It's not like a transitional thing or anything. It just opens with our protagonist, Gramps, lifting pretty small dumbbells, like up and down. He's got like a big pump going on, and there's a random like guy from Jersey.
He's New Jersey. He's like, oh, you want to fight me, mate? That's my New Jersey accent.
Australia?
Whatever.
And the Jersey guy just goes, so what are you going to do now that you're retired? Which is brilliant.
Straight at the camera. He looks right at the camera.
Art. It's really fantastic stuff.
They're talking about how Gramps is going to go back to college now that he's retired.
Yeah.
Because he's a computer engineer. He's a programmer or something?
Programmer, yeah.
Yeah, he's got a lot of money. But that never comes up
No.
because the guy who wrote this movie, who's also Grandpa, the star of the movie, I don't think has ever used a computer.
No. I'm pretty sure what we see is like whatever was
what we get
in the SD card when the camera was done, just uploaded.
So he's at the gym, and they're working out. At the very end of that scene, to transition to him going to college, he says to his friend...
And to the camera.
He looks right at the camera and says, I'm going to war.
So, what came first? The blood? Or the brain? Or the lungs? Or the heart that's needed to pump the blood to the brain? Or the liver, which is needed to clean the blood? Etc.
So Gramps has two antagonists in his quest to teach college about God.
Yes, they are...
He's got the biology
teacher,
who's our first antagonist. She's the
MILF.
first one we meet. Definite, strong MILF.
Hard MILF.
And she knows it.
She flaunts it.
So, she teaches a biology class, which is like a high school biology class?
No, middle school.
Like middle school biology class?
They are talking about dinosaur poop.
Yeah.
Or whatever.
Like, the whole class seems to literally be entirely about evolution.
Yes.
Seems pretty, like, at that point...
Basic.
If you're in college learning about biology, I don't know what you'd be learning about because I'm dumb as shit, but, like, presumably something more important, right?
Yeah.
More difficult. Anyway, so Gramps goes into this class, and it's the opposite of the scene in God's Not Dead with Kevin Sorbo, where Kevin Sorbo gets up on his little podium at the beginning of the class and says, God is dead, fuck Christians.
He does.
And he tells everyone they have to be atheists to go to philosophy.
She does not. She does not antagonize this in any way.
No.
She just says, here are the facts. I'm teaching you a 3rd grade level biology course in this college.
Yeah.
And then Gramps stands up and says, evolution is a lie.
Yeah, and like he goes on a little like 5-minute rant about how it's all wrong, and she tries to engage with him in like a weird debate, and he just keeps laughing at her.
He's like, "You're wrong."
Yeah. She says something like, it's foolish to think that. And he says, "Well, you called me a fool." And then she invites him out for coffee.
They go to have coffee, yeah.
Which, if we're talking about the cafe...
We're talking about the coffee shop. Let's talk about the cinematography of this movie.
If you have seen any Galaxy of Clams sketches,
any of us,
anything we've done,
this even,
you are watching the quality of Gramps not dead.
He's surely going to college. Yeah, it's...
Nowhere is this more clear than in the cafe.
And in the cafe. There, when we were watching the movie together, we spent about 10, 20 minutes...
like 30 minutes.
30 minutes.
Like, at least, on this one 5-minute scene.
Going back and back, trying to figure out if it was a green screen or not.
And I mean...
And if it was, good on you, because we couldn't tell. But if it wasn't, then... Where were you filming that looked so fake?
It was so strange. And, like, that might sound weird, but you have to imagine how crazy the scene has to look for us to need to look at it a bunch of times to see if it's a green screen. They're sitting at this giant round table, the biggest fucking table I've ever seen. And everyone's sitting perfectly so the camera can see all of them.
Yeah.
And behind them, there are these flat, black, solid shadows on places that I don't think would have shadows.
But... there was a completely empty pastry case,
right,
that you have in coffee shops nowadays. It's just empty. There's nothing in it, but the shadow reflects and goes through the case like it would naturally.
Yeah.
So I don't know if
really
the
odd.
rest of it was fake, but they had a pastry case on set.
Well, I think what might have happened is they filmed some of it at an actual coffee shop, like
and then
shots
the close-up shots.
Yeah, and they had to
faces.
do a green screen or something like that.
Anyway,
so the biology teacher basically her plan is to fuck him into submission, as far as I can tell.
We don't know that until she does try to fuck him.
Literally, like gets on top of him. She invites him over to her house for like wine and. I don't even remember what the pretext was, but she basically invites him over to fuck him.
Yeah, they have coffee, and then she's like, "Well, we've had coffee.
Let's
go get wine, like at my house and have sex."
His first words when he sees her, and she's not in anything scandalous.
No,
he literally tells her to cover up.
She's got like a dress on, like a nice dress,
right.
Like it's something you could wear to meet the president. And he goes up to her, and he's like, he walks behind her with a sweater and puts it on her. He's like, "You need to cover up."
It's really, really quite something.
And then she's like, "No, I don't."
Then she gets so drunk that she can't function
on one glass of wine.
One glass of wine.
One glass of wine. I've had 3 of these, and I'm not drunk.
Right. And like, you're my ride home.
Well, the fool has said in his heart that there is no God.
Are you calling me a fool, Mr. Bounce?
Seems to me you just called me one a second ago.
Yeah, so she gets him to cover up, and then he just leaves. Like, she gets too drunk and tries to grab his dick, so he just pieces on out.
Before we get into spoiler territory,
we should talk about the other protagonist.
We should talk about the antagonist.
Yeah.
Or hero, because he was cute boy.
Cute little guy.
The jock character.
Straight out of a 1980s like
cartoon.
College comedy, like Animal House could have had this guy in. Like he's a parody of himself. It's ridiculous. He's a big buff meathead who doesn't know anything except sports.
He does have a chess team though.
Somehow.
Yeah.
And one of the conflicts in this film is this large ongoing contest that Gramps enters for some reason.
Versus
the jock. Yeah.
They go on a race. The race didn't finish. We never got like a conclusion to the race.
I think Gramps wins the race.
How?
I think he is like a slow and steady kind of guy, and he makes it all the way to the end while the jock burns himself out because he ate too much or some shit.
Sure.
And like all of the sports, the jock obviously thinks he's gonna win really easy because he's young and spry. but Gramps is too much of a alpha to take that line down.
Yeah.
So
the main conflict is the jock is intimidated by this old
how
man.
sexy he is.
How sexy and fit and athletic this sexy old man is.
Did you know that chess and checkers are sports?
They are, because they compete in them. Let's talk about the chess match, the chess tournament. The chess tournament was fantastic because of all the symbolism. The opposing team, Gramps' team was named
Jesus guys.
Jesus guys, heroes of the Holy Spirit. The opposing team was named
Demons
666.
If you are the kind of person who, when you go to see a film and someone like tries to talk about it and about what like a certain thing in a film meant or what that scene tried to convey, you know, like if you come out of like, say, I don't know, a Transformers film and someone's like, you know, I think Michael Bay might have been trying to say something about consumerism, you know, and you're like, fuck you, nerd, movies for turning your brain off. Gramps Not Dead 2
Surely Alive, going to college.
Is the film for you.
Yeah.
The
It's
idea of
black
subtext,
and white.
right? Literally.
It's not. It's in color.
Some
They were
parts I think
somehow
are.
able to make this film in color.
Every message they try to tell is surface level. Every single thing that they're trying to say is either literally said or wrote somewhere for you to see visibly. During the chess match is also where we learn that God's Not Dead, Gramps Goes to College 2 is not just about God, but it's also about how the government is trying to kill you in a variety of ways.
Fluoride.
Meat. He talks about GMOs at one point.
He does, yeah.
He talks about radiation. He goes on at length about a variety. Like the film is 3 seconds away from Gramps leaning over and saying, "I'm just saying, jet fuel can't melt steel beams." If he did that wasn't there a point in the film where we were genuinely waiting for him to say it because he was like this close?
There was. We were sitting there like, say it, say it, say it, say it. I didn't say it.
He never does, unfortunately.
Never does.
But anyway, he wins at chess by distracting his opponent with theological arguments.
He does, and then he says checkmate, and
Which
then the
is
scene
how you
cuts.
win. That's the
Scene's over.
So
Let's talk about spoilers now. If you haven't seen this movie and want to,
you should still probably listen. It's not gonna
change.
So, there's a couple of other characters in the film. There's 1,000 characters in
There's
the
a
film.
little girl
frankly.
who falls in love with him, I think.
Gramps, yeah,
Gramps.
really wants him.
And
then there's a slut.
There's slut.
Which isn't us being mean.
Me, no.
It's literally
They
how
paint
she's
her as
presented
that.
in the film as the slut.
Gramps says that, I think, at one point.
She has a cabal of... she's almost a third antagonist. She does like a little heel turn later, but...
No, she immediately. It's not like later. she starts off the movie by going into her dorm room with a bunch of white girls going, "Oh my god, if only we could destroy Christianity."
And she comes up with a bunch of schemes.
Yeah, a bunch of like evil schemes.
Which are
And
all
then-
about getting a roommate fucked also.
Yes, and then the next scene, she's completely on the other side. She's like, "Oh, these guys aren't so bad."
I'm looking for Hickerson Hall.
We normally only have students under the age of 20 in the dorms.
I heard there's a senior citizen staying in my dorm.
That's Ty Bounds. He's not even close to being that old.
Which brings us to possibly the best part of the film. The drinking contest. Now, there's a theme throughout this film that the guy who made it, Gramps, the star, director, producer, writer, is writing about college like someone who's only seen college in like a book.
Canadian sitcom.
Right. It's like, obviously the guy has not been to college in a very long time.
Or
He's
ever.
about 90
We don't
years
know.
old. But
We didn't research him.
so he goes to a drinking contest, which takes place in the basement of a woodwork,
No,
like a
it's-
lumber mill or
It's
something.
just a garage.
It's not. It's just there's it looks like this set.
Yeah. There is. It's unfurnished. The walls aren't there.
They're
It's
bare
just- it's just-
wood when they
it's
are
like
there.
balsa wood.
You know when they put up the house and they haven't built it yet, but they put up the walls? That's
There's like
what it looks
tarps everywhere. There's also just one keg.
There's about 20 people.
And one thing of absolute vodka.
Yeah.
Like this big.
And the whole crowd of people, 20 or so people, are in a little huddle. And they're just looking at the guy in front of the keg, who looks at everyone and says in the whitest, dorkiest way ever, "Gonna have a drink contest!" Woo! The drink contest rules are incredible. They are as follows. It's $20 to get in. You have to give the guy $20, and whoever wins gets the pot, which we thought was weed for a while, but is actually probably the money, I'd imagine.
Yeah, the pot of cash. But
so there's only 2 contestants. The slut, who has slid back into her dark ways.
Yes, she's
and
now evil.
Some white guy.
Yeah, who's also a villain, but we don't know him.
No. Are there any non-white people in the film? So she's in the drinking contest. She goes up and she starts drinking and immediately dies. Just falls down.
She has a beer,
like
or
half,
2?
maybe, and then falls flat. You've had 3 already, and you're still alive.
I'm still going for it.
So she drops to the ground, and Gramps shows up. Luckily, he just comes out of nowhere, and the bro from before, the guy who was her opponent, goes up to her, throws his hands on his head, and goes, "She's dead, man!" and then runs away. That's it. That's the only person who goes up and sees if she's okay.
Not a doctor.
Everyone else immediately decides that
someone's
she's dead.
Sober.
Everyone else is just like, well, what do you expect?
And they kind of walk away.
Yeah.
Then Gramps shows up and he's like, I got this.
Gets his hands together. He does a little pray. And she gets up.
But first, the very, very drunk biology teacher shows up. And she's like, get away from her. But then she sees that the power of God has brought this woman back from the dead.
I almost forgot, but when she gets back up, she starts talking about fire and how she was in hell.
How she was in hell! Yeah.
Gramps Goes to College. It's better than Little Boy.
It's
easily.
The Little Boy had a better budget, and Kevin James was in it. And he was also in Paul Blart Mall Cop.
Why are you going to college? I mean, shouldn't you be hanging around the Senior Citizen Center playing bingo and bridge and drinking and shirt?
I mean, it wasn't all bad. It had some good points.
There were some good parts.
Like, I like the jock character. He's very well played. The guy who's playing him is a nice guy. You know, there's some messages in there that aren't too bad. They were right about the fluoride thing.
They were right about the fluoride thing, yeah. Yeah. Me too. The message is strong.
Yeah, I mean...
it's well written. It reminds me of, like, Star Wars.
They say don't drink and drive, too, at the end, and that's important.
That is an important lesson that kids need to learn. Mothers against drunk driving.
And overall, I think the core message that old people have something to contribute to society is something that we don't really talk about enough in
That
film.
is true, yeah. It's a very Eastern thing that they're trying to bring to the West, I think. What?
So, are you this much trouble in all your classes?
I'm an equal opportunity troublemaker, but, you know, most classes don't teach something as debatable as evolution.
Gramps Not Dead 2 is the greatest Christian film of all time, a story of an old, wise member of the community entering a place of learning and liberal darkness to bring the light of Christianity and God and the glory of Christ to people who perhaps have not had it in our society.
Absolutely. This movie, from me, gets 10 Christs out of Christ.
Far surpassing the 8 Christs we gave God's
Little
Not
Boy.
Dead. And
we gave 8 Christs to both of them. Yeah,
I think so, that's right.
They're both pretty good, but not as good as this one.
Gramps Goes to College.
God bless. Thank you for tuning in. Remember to go to church this Sunday. We'll be there.
And check out Gramps Not Dead 2.
What the fuck did you do to my house? Get the fuck out of my house!
Alright.
You fucking stole my line.
Sorry.
But leave the sexy Jesus painting.